life, business, reinvention, and the lessons that outlive us. This is the Dave of the Dead podcast.
Hola and welcome to Dave of the Dead podcast. My guest today has lived inside power. I'm talking Wall Street, Washington, D.C., and Ivy League type of power. He's been in the rooms where real decisions get made. To quote Lin-Manuel, the rooms where shit happens, where it happens anyway. Mark L. Madrid is a strategist and a builder who operates at the intersection of capital, policy, and human potential, helping shape how businesses grow, from federal leadership roles to advising organizations preparing for the future of work. Mark understands how the system runs and where it sometimes fails people. What sets Mark apart isn't just where he's been, it's how he shows up. He lives with deep gratitude to God, his family, his partner, his pet, and of course, his inner circle. And he's known for his high-octane Tony Robbins-level energy, grounded in discipline and grit, as he likes to say. His journey is living proof of overcoming adversity, winning the right way, and paying it forward. But true to Dave of the Dead, today's conversation isn't about resumes, although his resume is mega impressive. It's about how power moves when reinvention becomes the obvious next step and what responsibility comes with real influence. With that, I'd like to welcome my latest guest to Dave of the Dead podcast, Mr. Mark L. Madrid. Bienvenido.
I am so excited to be on Dave of the Dead. This is like so energizing.
Welcome to the big time, Mr. Mark Madrid. Wall Street, Washington, D.C., Ivy League, Dave of the Dead. There's a pecking order here, clearly.
That's what I'm talking about.
My friend, you look incredible. You've got, for those who are just listening, he's wearing this incredible cowboy hat. He's got this shirt on with all sorts of logos on it. The man comes ready to go. And I love him and I love his energy. And I'm excited for this conversation, everybody. And so, Mark, this podcast is about life, business, reinvention, and lessons that outlive us. And what a life you've had, And so what I want to do is just start from the beginning. You've told me privately a little bit about yourself. I'm going to forget all that. We're going to go right back to the beginning. Let's talk about your humble beginnings in rural Texas and mom and dad, and give people the context for, the man behind the legend here.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, where it all started. And it started in the Texas Panhandle in a farming community called Freona, Texas. That's why I always say I'm grounded in these boots.
There they are. Yes.
I'm grounded in these boots. I wear them with suit. I wear them on Wall Street. But it all begins, I'm the son of migrant farm workers, U.S. citizens, but they went where the jobs were. And in this case, it was the South Plains of Texas, Morton, Texas. And that's where my parents met on the cotton fields. It was even a rite of passage for me. We can talk about that after a while. So my father, very con mucho ganas, the will do kind of guy, something's broken, my dad will fix it. Well, he had that ingenuity to just take up trades, anything that he could to get educated. So that's where the stock I'm from. And so he would even draw blueprints on napkins, and he launched, with the support of my mother, a welding business there in the Texas Panhandle. So if you drive through the Texas Panhandle to my surrounding towns of my community, which are Lasbuddy, Farwell, Bovina, Shallow Water, Muleshoe, you'll see cattle pens, and grain elevators that were either buttressed by my father, built by my father with his strong hands. And that's where it all started. But I will tell you that I had some milestones there. They were fantastic. I was the first Hispanic valedictorian in the history of the town. And so that was all great, but it also came with a lot of challenges being from that area. And we can talk about that, but I'm a better person for it. So my dad graduated from the 7th grade, my mom from the 4th grade. So I didn't come from an academic household, but PhD in life. Yeah, they certainly had a PhD in grit and guidance, and that led to an opportunity for a full scholarship at the University of Texas at Austin, which was 450 miles away from the Texas Panhandle town where I grew up.
Incredible. Incredible. I do want to hear about the struggles. Dave of the Dead is all about overcoming struggles, and you're not going to learn without pain in life, right? Talk about some of the struggles, like how much of a struggle was it growing up in that environment?
Yeah, well, I was called the macadamia brownie, and I'll explain what that's all about. In context, when I met people at the University of Texas, even in New York and Wall Street, they thought, "Are you a Catholic from the Valley? The Rio Grande Valley, which I love." I said, "No, I grew up in the Texas Panhandle with a drawl, and I was reared Southern Baptist." And so I think that right there, there's not a lot of Latinos at the time that I grew up. That has changed. But I knew that the way out for me, not everybody has to get out of a small town. I'm very grateful for the small town values that I have. And thus my passion for rural America and small businesses.
Uh-huh.
Uh, However, growing up there, I think there's a segment of the population, the few that look like me, that thought I was trying to act white. And then the more hurtful thing for me for many decades was, and this was not indicative of everyone there because I have some wonderful mentors from my hometown, um, but I became the second son, the Latino at the other Baptist church, not the Spanish Baptist church, but at the First Baptist Church, etc. And that was all good, and it was a great situation with synchronicity and grounded by faith. But for some of them, it was all good until I tried to date their daughters. Then
Aha.
there was no exceptions, and no exceptions, like actually telling me in my face, no exceptions in public venues, in churches. Uh, Wow, did that throw me for a doozy because I had no mentorship. I mean, I wouldn't know how to take this to my family. I just had to be grounded in myself. That's the first time that I said, you got to stick up for yourself because you can back yourself up because you trust in you. You know what you're made of. At the same time, you're going through insecurities, and that was a battle throughout. But wow, that stuck with me, that less than, no matter what you do. And like I said, a segment of the population, but I got that, you know, probably 5 different times from notable, influential families in the town, given
Interesting.
that I was the student body president, the valedictorian, the fundraiser, all that, got the keys to the school. But that's was the reality of things. It made life very, very challenging for me.
Yeah. Did it fuel you though at the same time to keep going and sort of supersede all of those, stereotypes that were put on you and yeah, people looking down on you? How did that fuel you, if at all? Maybe you just fueled yourself. We'll get into that in a minute.
Oh yeah, did it fuel me? I come to learn much later on that you got to fuel yourself first. And that's why I have a channel now, Self-Fueling Excellence. But at the time, I said, that's going to motivate me. It motivated me in the 3rd grade when I got the blue ribbon, my first blue ribbon of many, in a subject that I didn't have a passion for. And so I realized that that blueprint was going to pave an opportunity for me. And so that definitely drove me. It drove me at the University of Texas, where my dorm, Jester Hall, men of 10, had more inhabitants than my hometown. When I, but I was still a people pleaser, trying
Mhm.
to feel accepted, trying to do more than enough, trying to excel. So I got into a lot of situations there, but still graduated with honors. Still was one of the few college leaders from the University of Texas to to launch into Wall Street with JP Morgan. And so it did fuel me, and that type of pathway and those type of incentives kept me going for decades. But at some point I needed to realize what was really going on in here. But
Yeah,
yes, that was
I
the
want
real
to dig into
source.
that. I want to dig into that. This is not an uncommon story, right? But the fact that you succeeded amidst all these obstacles and, hurdles in your way is obviously a testament to who you are today. But you had to go deep and look further in yourself, as we'll unpack that a little bit more. Tell me real quick before we move on from your early life. You've said recently in particular, women have been some of the greatest influences in your life. Can you talk about that too? You talked about dad a little bit. Talk about mom and other women in your life.
Oh, yes, for sure. Recently, I just had a great opportunity. I still don't take things for granted. So I got a call to sponsor the AI house at CES conference in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, but it was a specific event honoring the most powerful women in AI and blockchain. I
Mm-hmm.
thought, what? And it was quite an honor because women have been the greatest influences in my life. And this is why. In every major role that I've had, I've learned from the best, meaning that she had done everything to work herself up
Right.
to the CEO position, to the head of whatever. And so they would each one formed of different pathways, very, very different. But the parallel pathing and the common denominator was, you know what? I'm a Swiss Army knife. In other words, I've done everything here.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to work for me. You got to have that mentality. And over time, they all figured out I am the same person. That's really how I've crafted my life and how even today that's a differentiation factor because I won't ask anyone to do something that I wouldn't do. And in order to uphold a standard of excellence and be competitive, you have to go there if that's your choice. And that's certainly my choice. And I've learned from the best. And that's why, because they were in the followers, they were answering the phones, they were doing all the, the grunt work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been a key to my success.
Okay. And as we talk about the building blocks of who you are as a person and your success, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention you were also, I'll say, an elite athlete, a marathoner, an endurance athlete. Talk about that experience and how you've, segued that into your business life as well.
Ooh, that's a good one. Because in my hometown, I was not an athlete. I was a scholastic excellence, but you could go for a lot of sports there, but I sucked. And that hurt because I wanted to be excellent in everything that I did.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and it was kind of like it was kind of a status thing to be an athlete over scholastic. And I realized, Mark, you got it all wrong many years later. But at the time, and I grew up an obese kid, so there was that type of bullying stuff in the like middle school and early junior high. But then I lost the weight. Um, and gosh, I'm a sports fanatic. And that's why we have talk a lot about the Super Bowl. But ever since I've been young, I rallied to sports. Part of the reason why is something I haven't shared is that I was born 1 year after my brother's death. He died of a freak accident at age 5. That's where I get my L in my middle name, Mark L. Madrid. So it's not like it's Mark L. Madrid. No, my middle name is my brother's name, Leroy.
Leroy,
Leroy.
I was going to ask you what the L stands for, and I have a question about it at the end. Yeah. What is the L?
Absolutely.
So it's in honor of your late brother, Leroy, who you never met, who passed a year before you came into this world.
That's
Okay,
right.
keep going. Keep going with this.
Yeah. Well, Leroy, age 5, it's like a horrible thing. He was with my sister and another playmate. My mother always took care of her kids. She took care of the house. She groomed us well. We were super clean all the time. They were playing underneath a flower box with heavy pottery suspended by chains. The chains snapped. The flower box collapsed on the 3
What?
children and killed my brother, killed my brother instantly. And my sister was scarred for life, right? And Dave, my brother's birthday is around Christmas time, and I didn't realize till my 30s that I was just born a year after his death, because it is very, very traumatic topic for my family. Now, this energy, I've always had it. And I say now I have to live twice for my brother because he was very gregarious. So I've got that blue collar DNA that I talk about. I got that. I got white collar,
Uh-huh.
got blue collar DNA. He was the one who was going to take over my father's welding business. Just pissing on the sheets at, age 4 and being all rebellious and cantankerous. And so, I realized, okay, wow. Because when there's certain Christmases where the only gifts that we were unwrapping were tamales, and I
Right.
was like, can't there, I want a, more vibrant Christmas tree. I don't understand all this stuff. And I realized many years later that it's just a very tough topic for my family. But I look at Leroy like my guardian angel. When somebody thinks, oh, that guy's, is he made of this work ethic and for the, for real? I'm like, you have no idea of the substance that I've made, including you know, his influence on my life. And so, yeah, my brother died at age 5 in that freak accident. It's definitely affected my family and still does today.
My goodness. Thank you for sharing that. And how did this lead you, though, to be an athlete too, or to run marathons? Is it,
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
yeah,
So, as a sports fanatic, and rallying the sports because where I was going with that is I had a lot of alone time,
right.
and my sisters, we had an age gap. So they were 7 years older than I am, 2 older sisters, Mary Felix and Diana. So it was a lot of alone. So I rallied the sports, every sport. And that's why I'm a sports fanatic. That's what you see all this with F1, Super Bowl, Final Four, college sports, etc.
Hmm.
So I'm like, you know what? I figured out, well, you're going to be a great athlete someday. And I figured out, even though it's not innate, what you can do is you can be disciplined and you can train.
Yep.
And you do those two things, then you're going to be just fine. So then I started running and I was like, oh, this turned out better than I expected. And I took it very seriously. I had a very ritualistic. I loved national anthem. I loved the competition of it all. Some people run for the atmospheric. No, I'm running for a time. I've had to shift that mentality a little bit, and then I started competing for my age group. So depending on whether it's a 5-year age group or 10-year age group, I would do all the analysis, especially if there's hardware and podiums. But it was more of a challenge. I realized the more mature I got, the better athlete I became, not only for my own self, but comparatively speaking. So I would say today, like, put me up against anyone back in the day, meaning back in my hometown. I'll go to toe with you, and
Wow.
I'm in.
What was your fastest mile, if you don't mind me asking, when you were, doing marathons on the regular?
Well, there was a 5K that I did a 19-mile race, and
Uh-huh.
so I'll always cherish that. It was a 4th of July race, so I had to run, the fastest miles in the 5s, but that race is my most cherished, is to come in competitively,
Yeah.
um, and to do it in the 19s.
Amazing. Well, truth be told, I might not look like it, but I used to do triathlons
Yeah,
myself. Olympic distance, not the Ironman for viewers who are going, there's no way this dude did. I did
ditto.
Olympic back when I used to live in New York City, where they said a bag of Doritos could do the swim in 20 minutes, floating with the current and whatever else is in that river. Uh, but I didn't do it for time. Obviously, I did it for more just personal growth. And, to say that I did it, I trained and I did it. And I'm looking at part of your calling card is energy, discipline, and grit. So when I think of someone who does marathons on the regular and is competitive, those are really core descriptors, if you will, of a marathoner or a triathlete. And so you've taken those words with you. And at some point you said, okay, I have a great education. I have all this background. I live in a small town in Texas, but I'm bigger than this town and I'm going to go to Wall Street. And you went to JP Morgan first, it sounds like, out of college. Talk about that transition and what was that like? What did you have to learn or unlearn when you went from being small town Texan dude to Wall Street guy?
Woo! Well, I'll tell you what. When I landed in New York City, I'll never forget it because I saw World Trade 1 and 2, and I was gobsmacked. I really was. I mean, I was just like, this is everything that I've always imagined it to be. The first day that I went to the training program, just seeing that escalator in World Trade Center 1 and 2, that's my combination to the Twin Towers. But it was just what I imagined. And I was like racing up that escalator every time I saw that, every single day, because I landed in Jersey City because I had to graduate early from the University of Texas. I was graduating summer. So I had to
Uh-huh.
graduate early. And I got there the day before the training program started without a place to live. And so, anyway, I landed in Jersey City, then would go to the PATH train, PATH to Wall Street, and go through World Trade 1 and 2 on the way to Wall Street. It's something I'll never forget. Part of my heart is in New York City, and it always will be. What I learned is that, first of all, I looked left and I looked right. Nobody looked like me. I didn't have any mentorship. The projects that I had were enormous. And there was times, frankly, where I'm like, I have no idea how I'm going to get this done, but I have to get it done. I have to figure this out. I have to learn more. I have to intensify my studying. And although I had car service, it's like they dropped me off at 3 a.m. We're picking me up at 6 a.m. And it was very, very difficult experience if I had to be truthful. But I learned so much about myself, how far I could be stretched, how resilient I was, how tenacious I was. And so it ended up super well. But I do have a moment because I want to be an open book. But I remember like it was yesterday, it was Christmas Eve, and I was working on the Fifth Avenue Alpha. So I worked 23 wall, 60 wall on Fifth Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And it's beautiful, the snow and Rockefeller Center and all that. But I realized I had not sent my family their Christmas gifts. So I spun into what I didn't know what I was having, but an anxiety attack. I never had one. As much stress as I had of overcoming, and I was rushed to the hospital, Columbia Hospital, and it's because I couldn't believe that I forgot to send my parents and my sisters Christmas gifts. So that taught me a lot. I mean, again, got it done excellently, international best practice, etc. But I think the most painful thing was not knowing where to go for help in a safe place, in a trust place. Like, are there strings attached? Am I going to be perceived as weak? All those things were in my head, but it ended super well.
It's interesting. So when someone has a panic attack for the first time, truth be told, I used to have them back in my late 20s and mid 30s quite regularly. You learn a lot about yourself, right? Because that's coming from a place of fear, either fear of dying or losing it, whatever it was. So you're in the hospital going, what is happening here? What caused this? Did you then, was that a one and done panic attack, or did you start to have more and you had to like go down the rabbit hole of dealing with that anxiety disorder, so to speak?
That was really a one-time event, but I knew that no one's invincible.
Yeah.
And I realized that I was alone, truly alone, meaning,
Yeah.
Mark, I mean, this is a race, you're imposing this race on your own self. Now, there are depths of reason for this, and they are part of your journey to excel, but at what cost? And so that was the biggest lesson. But I also realized you're not invincible to anxiety, to mental health issues, to all those things that no one should be ashamed of. It's like humanity, especially today, is so difficult to deal with. So I realized, buckle up, buddy, because as much as you appreciate life, as much as you want to go for the win and you're grounded in faith, get ready because
Yeah.
life is going to become more complex every year that you exist.
Sure is. Sure is. So you were in your early to mid 20s, I'm assuming, when this happened. Yeah. Okay. So then take me into your 30s. Were you still, remind me, were you still in New York or where did you go next?
Well, I think that event had a lot to do with me realizing, my gosh, my family's all the way in Texas. They don't really understand what I'm doing as much as I try to explain it. There's that dissonance. Like, why are you way over there? Wall Street didn't mean could be named any street as far as they're concerned. For my family, it was like, why aren't you here? Why don't we see you more, et cetera, et cetera. And so I decided before I accepted the rotation to the war room, which is
Uh-huh.
analyzing overnight markets, like during the night shift, which is also like it's a badge of honor. And is it I mean, I'll take it as what?
A little bit.
Well, I went with my heart, trust my heart, and it was the most I learned a lot of things, like just be truthful with your manager. Yeah, you respect her. She is a managing director here. Just go with the truth. She's like, Mark, we'd like to offer you one thing, and thank you for just being honest with me about the war room. But we're going to send you abroad to analyze our risk and control policy in Mexico City. I thought,
Ah.
my goodness, really? I mean, I would be honored to do that. So I did that. I came back and it became an international best practice for the firm. But then I went back to Texas. What a lot of people don't know is I didn't have a job in Texas. I said, it's time to go back to Austin. And I just said, leap, because life's greatest achievements don't come by shortcuts. And I believe in small steps aggregated will turn into that leap. But in this case, it was like, leap. You might not have a place there, but if you don't leave right now, you might be here a while and you can always
Uh-huh.
come back. So I did that. I ended up in a temp job. I ended up in an HR office, 1300 South Mopac, Temple Inland Mortgage Corporation, Fortune 500, answering the phones, literally answering the phones and stuffing envelopes. But you know what? Every envelope was the label was absolutely parallel, and the phone. I had disciplined talking points. I was always very jovial because it came from that's who I am. And so the HR director called. She said, "I need to talk to you, Mark." I said, "Yes, ma'am." And she said, "Who are you?"
You seem a little bit overqualified for this job.
She said, it's very rare that the super majority of us like one person, but we're all impressed with how you're approaching this position. But who are you? And a week later, I was assisting the head of secondary marketing set mortgage rates for the firm. So,
Wow.
I got back into the banking environment and continued to learn from the best in that Fortune 500, got involved in a lot of great projects. Enterprise technology integrations and cross-functional projects, and then the specialty roles of helping with secondary marketing and all that. That was right up my wheelhouse. And then at the time while I was number two to my dream position to be president of a bank,
Uh-huh.
president
Uh-huh.
of a bank, it was the height of the Great Recession. And we found out New Year's Eve of 2007, we're shuttering down. Don't tell your people. On New Year's Eve, it was a very short stint at the Outback Bar at 6 p.m. I was in bed by 8. um, and wow, I mean, I told number one, the president, who basically gave me like, Mark, I want you to succeed me. And I thought, what an honor. And so what I told him is, let me take care of this. Why don't you've done a lot for me. I said, so I was the last one to hand in the key to the landlord, not knowing what the hell I was gonna do. Didn't have a rainy day fund. As much as I was, you know, in the field, I think we can relate to a lot of Hispanics, not all. I mean, I don't want to generalize, but I was never taught about, the principles of retirement and insurance and this, that, and the other, but I should have known better. But I was in the situation that I was. But I closed the bank and handed out severances where we could. Keep in mind that I was managing people on average 20 years older, older than I was.
Mm-hmm.
And that taught me a lot too about earned respect and trust. And yeah, that's when I decided, I can come back to banking at any time, but I really need to fill the mission cup with everything that I've been through. If it's not laden with passion, like a part of what you want to be known for in your assignment on this earth, then what are you doing? Because you're obviously going to pour everything you have into what you're doing, but you got to have a passion for it. And that's what led me to, apply for the job at the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And
Okay. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
I want to
And
point out
that's
you have a passion for even like stacking envelopes though, where most people maybe wouldn't be passionate. Like, just want to point that out here.
I'll
Yeah,
get the job done right. That's what my dad taught me.
1,000% on everything you're doing. Okay, so we'll try to leap forward here. I want to get to the the current business as well. But so you worked at the Chamber of Commerce, I guess, on an for a good 8-10 years. Is that accurate? Like on and off, or and then before? I know Mark as the CEO of the Latino Business Action Network at Stanford, and the Mark of SBA fame. But we'll jump to that in a second. What did you learn during the Chamber of Commerce years?
Yeah, so Cliff Notes version is my ex-boss. I love her. Learned so much from her. Again, started at the bottom, but she said, Mark, we don't care where you've been. You're in the nonprofit industry now. So you're going
Right.
to, if you want this job, you're going to start at the bottom. Nope, not a problem. I didn't look at my checks for a long time because I was like, don't think about that. But I started supporting small businesses. My first job there was selling small business memberships. And
Okay.
sharing with you, managed by somebody a lot younger than I was. Shout out to Manny. But I was like, man, I love this. I love going in there and literally, what is going on with your business? What's going right? I'm just going to shut up and listen, And so that led to me becoming CEO in waiting. And then I got appointed as CEO of the Greater Austin Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. It was a turnaround with a strong team and the board and the community, most important, the community. In a year and a half, we became the National Chamber of the Year for the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Of course
Was
you did.
there 3.5 years, and then I was recruited to become the CEO of the Latino Business Action Network, LBAN, and the Stanford Latino Entrepreneurship Initiative. So that was oh my gosh, what a tremendous honor that was. And I had 4 incredible years there. And then, I was appointed by the president and vice president to run one of the largest offices at the United States Small Business Administration, the SBA. And I don't come from a political background, but I knew a couple of folk and I thought, I don't have a shot at this. But, I've always wanted, somebody reminded me, Mark, you always said you wanted to work for the federal government for the people. I said, you're right. And so I didn't think I had a shot, but I knew I was qualified. That's what I had
Mm-hmm.
learned.
Mm-hmm.
And I was appointed, and I'll never forget taking the oath. And boy, was that job the most difficult thing I'll ever experience because of the environment that we're in. But in terms of just feeling grounded in these boots, in this blue collar DNA, the son of a small business owner, it's something that I'll never forget. And I know that God knows, and I know I left the SBA with my head held up high, knowing that I had supported U.S. small businesses the best way that I could, kind of Vince Lombardi style, #1 speech. I lay on the field exhausted, but victorious.
I love it. I want to take a half step back. So, right now I'm seeing the whole trajectory. So, you came from an entrepreneurial background, you went to a traditional college, you went to a corporate job, then you started again from the ground up. And then at the Chamber of Commerce, you were surrounded by all these entrepreneurs. Um, what did you learn about people and entrepreneurship, and what sort of lit you up from that experience working with all these entrepreneurs? Because this is a big part of who you are today, is what we'll talk about more.
Oh, yeah. What I learned is that, man, this is what they live for. I mean, they have poured their heart and soul, their financial resources, sacrificed so much to do this one thing, to own this business. What I saw, though, was an unequivocal pride, orgullo, no matter how the business was doing. I get chill bumps thinking about it, but it's like, and it's sort of that's me. It's like that. I get it. That's why my father was like, if I'm going to do this welding job and I want to be known as the best for it, no matter
Right.
what the color skin is, no
Yeah.
matter what it look like, no matter where I'm from. And so I became so invested in not only talking about their strengths and their superpowers, but I realized that there were some massive challenges. That's where I realized, okay, all that background in terms of educational background, all those experiences of overcoming, uh, now you can transform those into meeting them where they are and understanding how you can help them. Because in helping them, you're helping families like the one you were raised in. And then there's the whole dynamic of our demographic and how
Yes.
critical it is to this country, to the economy, to the fabric of who we should be. And so I just was all in, and that has never left me. That is my professional assignment, is to assist and empower the small business economy, period. I know that it's never going to leave me. It's never going to wane. If anything, it's going to keep intensifying. That is my professional assignment on this earth.
100%. You're still carrying that torch, my friend. And yeah, we're all better for it. And of course, as you're saying, a lot of these small and mid-sized businesses are Latino owned and operated, driving, that sector of the economy forward in a very, very important way that in particular in today's world is not getting, the positive light shined on it as it should. So kudos to you. And real quick, for our listeners who don't know what the Latino Business Action Network at Stanford is, because then you went from, I'll say grassroots to Ivy League. What did you learn about those sorts of businesses? Those were different kinds of businesses who went through that program, right?
Oh, yes. Well, the Latino Business Action Network and the Stanford Latino Entrepreneurship Initiative, the initiative of its kind has never been erected in U.S. history. Um, from two dimensions, the research, which is very powerful, longitudinal at a R1 university, at the elevation of a Stanford University level, and then aggregating a group that had never been aggregated before, which are scaled. Now we define that as 1 million or over in annual gross revenues. Now only 3% at best of the pool of Latino and Latina business owners across the U.S., Puerto Rico, and U.S. territories achieve that. So as much as we wanted to serve all, or as the founding fathers and the board, shout out to Professor Jerry Porras and Victor Arias and Phil Pompa and everybody who erected this founding circle, that's who we recruited. That was the marker of entry and the other application elements. And so I actually went to cohort 2. I was part of the second cohort as a
Oh,
nonprofit. I was a nonprofit as CEO of the Greater Austin Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. We barely qualified. And I knew that I was the side salad, not the filet mignon. So I'm like, okay. I had built a lot of credibility, even back then, 15 years ago, with small business owners and successful ones. So I said, I'm going to bring in 3 incredible entrepreneurs minimum to this program, and they super qualify. And so I said, not only am I applying, but here's 3 other applications coming in at the same time. And so, the bottom line is by cohort 4, I was the CEO
I
of
was
the
going to
organization.
say, from the side salad to the CEO. That's your tagline. I love it.
But listen, it's a scaling program for Latino and Latina entrepreneurs. It's a combination of an in-person experience at Stanford Graduate School of Business.
Yes.
So there's off weekend, and then there's distance learning, but consistent feedback. Everybody is mobilized, and then there's a closing weekend and graduation. It's about a 3-month program.
yeah, I'm familiar with it. So anyone listening, you've never heard of Latino Business Action Network at Stanford, check it out. It's a really incredible
Yeah.
program. and
Yes,
Mark
yes,
was
yeah.
there in the beginning. Okay,
And then, so then you did that for about 4 years, and then you joined the Small Business Association. Like, talk about that. You went to DC. I guess you lived in DC at this point.
Oh, yeah.
What was that jump like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big job. Very, very big job. Coming in during a lockdown, uh, in the middle of COVID. I just lost my dad to COVID the summer of 2020. We had seen things I never thought I'd see, like January 6th and other factors. But I thought if there's ever a time to come in and support U.S. small businesses during a time of the unknown, it's right now. And so, boy, did I hop in head and feet first, because all of a sudden, all in this $750 million budget, I was the head of a lot of things, but I knew that's just a title. There's teams here. So I oversaw all the small business development centers and the women's business centers, SCORE chapters, the education program for all the entrepreneurs through all the district offices, and so much more. Eventually became the head of the Office of Rural Affairs and cybersecurity, but that's only after you earn it, right? I took those positions with zero extra zero budget, zero FTEs. But you know what? I said, I'm all in. I moved into that office as soon as I could and made it home, because I knew in some instances it'd be my first home. And you could always see that light predominantly on in that office. Now, I did travel 37 states in 40 months because I wanted to meet our small businesses where they are,
Mm-hmm.
all over the country, no matter what industry they were in. And the most often comment that I got is, "You're not like them." I said, well, listen, I'm not sure what you're referring to, but I stand on the boots that is a son of a business owner. And my whole mission is to help you. And so there's a lot of factors that played into that besides doing the job, all the political theater, all the things that I had to learn very, very quickly, the scrutiny, the death threats, all that, the managing a workforce in that environment, etc. So, I was 2 degrees from the president and running a large office and also a direct report to the cabinet official, the SBA administrator, Isabella Casillas Guzman, who I just continue to be in awe of in terms of what she accomplished during that time. But I definitely learned a lot. I learned a lot about you better be prepared. Always own up to something. If you drop the ball, and sometimes silence is the best answer. I mean, those are 3 of the many lessons that I learned, but you had to be everything that I had been through. I realized even some massive injustices early on in life. I was like, I realize now why I went through all that. Thank you, Lord, because I've needed every second of it.
Absolutely. Amen to that. So now I can see your whole trajectory, the whole arc of your career, also your arc as a human being, growing into yourself. And at some point you said, you know what? I'm ready to lay out my own shingle. I want to take my white collar experience and my blue collar DNA, and you're going to launch something which is called Breakthrough Mavens. And you're going to write books, and you're going to talk about that pivot and what is Breakthrough Mavens?
Well, thank you. I realized in supporting officially millions of small business owners, I said, I want to give this a shot. What a lot of people don't know is I've been a failed business owner from my past. Like I tried to, with a dear friend, open a personal training studio a long time ago, and it didn't work out the way we wanted it to. And so I realized now, with this Swiss Army knife mentality and everything that you've learned, now it's time to be your own boss. Because imagine, and I'm very thankful, but I had managed a lot of boardrooms where I was the executive, the CEO, managing a board. I was responding to the highest levels of supporting people. So I said, I wonder, because I trust myself, if I could go all in to my own thing and make all the decisions. Of course, be counseled, but to trust my intuition and to go. And so, but I knew that if I wanted to be differentiated, that I need to come in hard. And so I was fortunate to have two institutional roles, when I resigned. And one was entrepreneur in residence at the National Minority Supplier Development Council, the NMSDC, and visiting scholar at the Clinton School of Public Service at the University of Arkansas. And so that would continue the honeycomb of legacy, delivering that unequivocal heart and making real impact in terms of our business, our small businesses across the country, and also doing good in terms of public service. And so from there, I knew that I needed to build an AI-centric company that was supporting small businesses. And so I went in the fractional C-suite services realm. And I knew that I was going to leverage AI with that, but in a responsible way, but in an innovative way. And so the other component that I was really excited to dip into was media. So I knew all those things were going to be integrated through retainer relationships, strategic partnerships, those two institutional roles. And that has just morphed into this company. And the name alone, I wanted to be indicative of what I was all about. So I took a lot of time to come up with Breakthrough Mavens. Some call me the Yoda of small business, but Yoda was taken.
You're a maven of small business.
That's right. And I'm a product of breakthrough. So Maven, Yiddish term in terms of wisdom, somebody that can go in different environments, assess the environments with a lot of experience, and deliver, really counsel that is well grounded in experience and knowledge.
Yes.
And
Another Yiddish term. You are a mensch, sir. You are a mensch. You are you are also Markitos. Can we talk about
Yeah.
Markitos, your digital twin, your AI digital twin? Not everyone has this. What is going on with this?
Oh, Markitos, I'm channeling him right now. It's the best version of myself because I ain't scared and I ain't intimidated. And really the way I deal with AI is it's grounded in human intelligence. It's grounded in investment and time in terms of what are my favorite business development reads? What are my favorite academic studies in whatever discipline? What are my top 10 disco songs? Why is faith so important to me? What have I learned? Here's my LinkedIn profile. And then we get to the data sets, right? And so in coming up with the digital twin, I operate on about 4 or 5 hours of sleep, but my digital twin operates on 0 sleep. He has very
Looks
great
fabulous.
languages. Yeah, and it looks fabulous. I mean, he's got all the elements that I, really, if I could package them up, he's a big listener. He's built, he's a superhero. He has a lunch pail. He's grounded in boots and he's ready to go, and he has a big heart. And so those elements that really ground the existence of Marquitos, my digital twin. And so we're going on from here. And he's just going to get better and better and younger and everything else and more powerful. And I'm always going to ground it. No matter how mature I get and how things morph on this end, I know that I can fuel that Marquitos, but to keep it grounded and to keep it driven by this intelligence.
I love it. I want to party with both of you guys. I'll tell you right now.
A very good time, I assure you.
Virtually and in person. So you're an author, you're a podcaster. I have a copy of your book. You gave me 21 uncomplicated and easy tips to start your day energized by 9 a.m. Do you got it right there, Mark? Is it right next? Oh, wow. Look at that. Talk about that book. What do you do? What are these 20 and why 21 of them?
Well, when I resigned from the SBA and launched into my new business, a Latina dear friend of mine, an author, Jackie Ruiz, she said, "Mark, people need to hear your story." And I said, "Well, tell me more." And at that time, Dave, I didn't know how, if my mother, because she's in rapidly declining health. I didn't know. I didn't know we'd have her for 6 months or 6 years. So I said, I'm going to write a book and dedicate it to her by her birthday. My first day with my business was June 1st of 2024. Her birthday, August 8th, 2024.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to go about publishing a book or anything else. And so I had already come up with the term self-fueling excellence that is now officially copyright, or it has a, public
Trademark.
domain.
I saw, yeah.
It's currently trademarked, but it's on its way to the full Monty. And then energy, initially it was supposed to be about the domains of energy. But I was like, Mark, you want to dedicate this to your mother. So it became a coffee book, accessible to all. Like, let the sunshine come in, whether you're outside or opening the blinds. Drink 2 glasses of water before 9 a.m. Why 9 a.m.? My publisher said, why do you need 9 a.m.? Because it's very important. I do more by 9 a.m. than most people do all day. You can do it in the Army. A campaign from the 1980s. I said 9 a.m.'s got to be there because 10,000 steps are done by 9 a.m. I've done a lot by 9 a.m. I've checked in on 5 people. I've checked in with my family by 9 a.m. And so these are tips just like that. And so, it became a bestseller in 3 categories. And so I'm just super excited because at the end of the day, it's dedicated to my mother. It says, this book is wholeheartedly dedicated to my mother, Maria Madrid, a woman of extraordinary tenacity. She has selflessly devoted her life to her children. As she bravely navigates through a series of major challenges, I pray specifically that she claims and fuels her epic tenacity and grit. These are the principles that I am privileged to have inherited from her and my father, and they serve as pillars of this book series. My deepest hope is that she fully recognizes and embraces these qualities within herself, just as they have profoundly shaped my life and work. So this book is not just a testament to these principles, but also a tribute to her life as I was formed from her.
That's beautiful, Mark. That's beautiful. What did Mom think of the book?
You know what? And this was the goal, is she understood it. She still doesn't understand what I do, really. But at the same time, do I understand everything that she's been through? But she understands the principles of this book. She has 2 glasses of water every night before she goes to bed, put it on her nightstand. She splashes cold water on her face. Yeah, she gets it.
I love that. I love that. Well, it's a great book, and thank you. I have mine right here on my shelf. I won't pull it out, but trust me, it's right over here. So as we wrap up, you are a man who likes to set intentions, right? And you don't just say it. You actually, in the case of self-fueling excellence, you trademark it. You create a podcast called Self-Fueling Excellence, which everyone should check it out, of course. You have a word of the year. Your word of last year, I'm just going to accelerate this and we'll get to the word of this year. Your word of last year was honeycomb. Why? Because your spirit animal is a bee. And you love the unity, collaboration, collective strength, community, economic power, et cetera, that comes by being a part of a hive, working at record pace, just like you. So that was beautiful, I thought, why honeycomb? And then it made total sense. This year, I'll let you unveil it. What is your word of 2026, Mark?
Thank you. Oh my gosh, yeah, honeycomb bee all the way. This year, the word of the year is synchronicity. So that's got to drive everything that I do. Because if I'm not in pure synchronicity with strategic partners, with media partners, with the friendship inner circle of trust circle, with revenue opportunities, with civic engagement, if it's not aligned in that way, then I really have to stop and think, hey, don't take this personally, Mark, or whoever I'm talking to. It's just not in line with the plan. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm still challenged with that because I want to say yes to things, but it's really important that I stay focused on synchronicity, which means true alignment. And I'll take that further in terms of business. You got to be aligned in passion. You got to be aligned in a business objective and you got to be aligned in values.
I love it.
There's actually some connectivity between being a bee and the honeycomb and synchronicity. His name is Sting. Remember him? There's an album called Synchronicity, and he wrote
Yes.
Synchronicity 1 and 2, and then the album Synchronicity. Anyway, that's your walkout. That'll be your walkout music.
Wow.
I mean, you might have
Thank
to pay
you.
him a royalty for that, but other than that, you'll be fine.
You too.
All right. So as we wrap up here, I have a couple of fun questions. This is off the cuff. I'm not sure if this is something you've ever thought about. Some of my other guests enjoyed this question. You ready? Here it goes.
Let's go.
What song is playing at Mark L. Madrid's funeral and why? Have you thought about this? Maybe Synchronicity? Did we
Well,
preempt
that
it?
would be one.
It's very
I
upbeat,
think
though.
Yeah.
it's The Greatest Love of All by Whitney Houston. Yeah.
Interesting. Now, why? Why Whitney Houston? Why this song? Unpack it.
Because the greatest love is happening to me. I found the greatest, the love of all inside of me. And so a life mentor way back, probably junior high, played that song and it mattered because now I have the manifestation of that song. So it resides within me. And so, yeah, that's what would be played.
I love it. Noted.
I want to end on, I didn't know what the L stood for in Mark L. Madrid. I'm like, is this like Michael B. Jordan? What's going on here? Is there another Mark Madrid? Maybe so it's Leroy, your brother, but I have a list of other L's. You ready? The L also stands for legendary, lion-hearted, limitless, luminous, leading, locked in, limit-breaking, loyal, level-headed, long game, lift, leaned in. That is what the L stands for in Mark L. Madrid. So you could trademark all of that, Mark. It's all, I gift that to you. That is you, my friend. You are unbelievable. I've really enjoyed this conversation as I knew I would. You are a force of nature, sir. And I am lucky to know you. We're getting to know each other still. Now we know each other a lot better after this conversation. Thank you for being my guest today on Day of the Dead.
And I admire you. Thank you for the honor of being here.
Thank you, brother. All right. We'll catch you next time.
Peace.
Peace.
Life, business, reinvention, and the lessons that outlive us. This is the Dave of the Dead podcast.